Take a look at this video from 2011.
Here's the traffic.
Napa Valley.
Doesn't seem like it. Here's your reply to Sandy Chen. Sure, I'll be there.
This is Siri, Apple's virtual assistant, its first ever appearance. And now look at this latest version of Siri from 2024.
Expect rain in New York on Saturday. Looks like it will be partly cloudy in Tampa, Florida on Saturday.
Send a message to mom.
What do you want to say?
If it wasn't for the robotic voice, I wouldn't have noticed that big of a difference between them. For years, Siri has been the second dumbest, if not the dumbest voice assistant out there, but in a few months, it all could change forever and put Apple back on top. For the last year or so, the company has been experimenting and testing Apple GPT AI tool. Of course, the model used by Apple isn't your standard GPT, and from what I see, isn't associated with OpenAI in any way. It's just an internal joke between the engineers, a play on Chat GPT. You might think that Apple and AI don't seem like a match, but Apple is a company that is silent until it can make a boom. Phones with touchscreen existed before the first iPhone, but Apple took a great idea and did it the Apple way. Tablets have existed before the iPad, the same goes for the smartwatch, wireless headphones, you name it. Apple takes the technology, looks at what everyone else does with it, and does its own thing, usually better than the others. Ajax platform is built in Google's JAX machine learning framework run in Google Cloud. Apple reportedly considered signing a contract with OpenAI and trialed OpenAI's technology for its corporate teams, but ultimately did not do so. From what I found, Apple employees need special permissions to use the chatbot, and its output cannot be used to develop new product features for customers. It is used for product prototyping and is able to answer questions about the data that was used to train it. Maybe they're using it as a blueprint for inspiration. Who knows? Some reports show a very interesting detail. Apple claims that their AI has been trained on over 200 billion parameters and is more powerful than ChatGPT. The same employees claim that this AI is more powerful than GPT 3.5. I can't say that GPT 3.5 is that much of a benchmark right now, since the GPT-4 has been around for quite a while. But if we take into account that GPT-4 requires a paid subscription and the Apple-made AI will be available to all Apple users for free, this claim starts sounding much more interesting. If there was a slightest chance that Apple GPT could be noticeably more powerful than ChatGPT for the same price, it wouldn't surprise me to see people fleeing OpenAI's creation in favor of Apple. Unfortunately, there is not that much information available about the AI from Apple and how far the development has come, but I hope Apple wouldn't make the same mistake OpenAI made, that is, training the model on text data first and adding additional layers to work with images and other file types later. I hope Apple went Google's way, copied the approach used for Gemini, creating a multimodal model and train it in all types of files, not just text. And apparently Apple has multiple teams working on AI with a heavy focus on privacy. If you didn't know, privacy is the main reason why Siri is so bad. It just collects less data to draw from. This surely makes it more secure, but noticeably decreases the functionality. And if these plans for AI come to fruition, we could get the best of both worlds, a smart and safe virtual assistant. Hey, I feel like we're on the same page about growing and improving ourselves and our finances. So recently I found this cool guide called Scaling Your Solopreneur Business by HubSpot. And honestly, it's a gold mine for anyone flying solo in their business. It's not just another guide, it's like a business coach compacted into an ebook. Every section is jam-packed with insights that feel like they're speaking directly to you. Whether you are penning articles, consulting, or creating art, the part that stood out to me the most was the section on building partnerships and processes. In a world where doing everything alone seems like a badge of honor, this section flips the script. It shows how collaboration and streamlined processes aren't just about efficiency. They are about elevating your business to levels you couldn't achieve solo. This ebook is a must read if you are serious about growth. It's not just about the what, but the how, with practical steps that feel doable and exciting. This video is sponsored by HubSpot, and guess what? You can get this amazing guide for free if you click the link in the description. Also, Apple is testing a ChatGPT style generative AI tool with its Apple Care support employees called Ask. The tool is designed to generate responses to technical questions and provide information from Apple's internal knowledge base to speed up support replies. Advisors can rate a provided question as helpful or unhelpful and ask up to 5 follow-up questions per topic. Again, we know all this from the leaks, so the reality can be somewhat different in terms of scale. Apple says the Ask tool is useful for solving complex issues, and because it's pulling from Apple's internal knowledge base, Apple has told advisors that the information is factual, traceable, and useful. Maybe we could soon see Ask getting integrated into the support app, making it much easier to solve our problems without needing to make calls. These two AIs are what we know are used and tested, but Apple is too smart to leak the real scope of their AI endeavors. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg, and recently the company has been buying AI companies like crazy, more than any company in the world. Just in 2023, Apple acquired 32 AI startups. Just for reference, Google has acquired 21, Meta 18, Microsoft 17. So we cannot really say that Apple isn't interested in AI. Of course, not all of these AI startups are directly working on AI assistants. For example, Wave 1 that was acquired in March worked on ample video compression. We cannot obviously predict how Apple plans on using the findings of these startups, but the numbers don't lie. Even if we just open Apple's job section, we'll find 232 open positions that need filling. And many of them can accept multiple people, so the scope of AI operation at Apple is really, really huge. Apple is well ahead of its competitors in equity and add-on investment in AI since 2017 with about 21%, while Microsoft holds 12%. Alphabet lies in the single digits at 8%. And with over $3 trillion valuation and cash reserves, the size of a small country's GDP, Apple can buy anything. It can even buy OpenAI with all its developments and patents. Could you imagine the next Apple event being hosted by Sam Altman sitting in some pompous white room? That would be hilarious. But jokes aside, Apple has all the money in the world to make this happen. Apple CEO Tim Cook is soon going to reveal the company's plans for AI. But we already know what he's going to say. Generative AI is in the works and is nearing the release. He himself overtly confirmed it a few weeks back. How will it look? What will it do? And how is Apple planning to shove LLM into our iPhones? Let's start with the features first. Alleged features, that's very important part of all this. And first, system integration. This part is overseen by Eddie Q, Apple's Senior Vice President of Services. His team is working on attempting to add AI to as many Apple apps as possible. For example, popular speculations suggest Apple Music being able to automatically generate playlists to apparently fit your mood better. There's also been some talk about an overhauled suite of productivity apps like Pages or Keynote. This bit surely means language models and text generation. That's where usually people's fantasy runs out. But if I was to use mine, I would assume better predictive typing and improved keyboard, enhanced image recognition, and maybe even some new camera features. And the second way Apple plans to use AI is for improving Siri. Here we have even more room for speculation about the upcoming features because the sky's the limit, as they say. If you don't yet have the ChatGPT app on your phone, download it. In this app, there is an option for verbal conversation with ChatGPT, and I think the improved Siri would be something similar to that. That's the only way to do things nowadays. Improved Siri must be the best search engine, the best know-it-all kind of guy, and it must work with system apps and stuff on our phones. If it just talks better and responds to a couple more requests, it wouldn't surprise anybody and even make headlines. The world is expecting Siri to become almighty and all-powerful, capable of doing things for us. And there's a lot of competition already. Remember Rabbit R1? The small orange rectangle promises to replace our phones. It's designed to perform tasks automatically, like web searches, booking, and shopping, by learning from your behavior. And it all happens on device without the need to be connected to your smartphone. Ex-Apple employees at Humane also released an AI pin with similar functionality. OpenAI, meanwhile, began working to enable AI agents that right now are known as MyGPTs. None of these products are an immediate threat to Apple, but all could eventually displace functionalities of Apple's devices. It would be foolish for Apple to ignore them, and it isn't. There's been a talk about Apple adding AI to Xcode to speed up app development. It could work like Microsoft's Copilot and complete lines of code or write entire blocks based on the first parts of the code typed in by a developer. And by the way, recently we did a video about the best AI tools for developers and found something really interesting. So if you want to better know what this Apple's Xcode AI could be, make sure to watch our video. In an annual shareholders meeting, Tim Cook said, "Incredible breakthrough potential for generative AI, which is why we're currently investing significantly in this area. We believe that will unlock transformative opportunities for users when it comes to productivity, problem solving, and more." To me, this sounds like any other corporate talk, but I think there might be something behind it. The question must be asked: how will it all work? That is the most interesting part of all this. Apple's team recently came up with a smart way to make big AI models run on devices without needing a ton of memory. They released a whole research paper on this, but I'm not gonna do a deep dive into storing co-activated neurons, tokens, latency, transformer blocks, and all that. So here's a slightly shorter version, more simplified. They found a method to manage memory better, allowing the device to switch the AI model's data back and forth between two types of storage, flash memory and DRAM, without delays. For that, they use two techniques called windowing and row-column bundling. Windowing lets the system reuse data it's already worked on, which speeds things up, and row-column bundling groups data together in a way that makes it easier and faster for the AI to read and understand. Kind of like chapters in a book. Thanks to these methods, AI models can run as if they had double the memory, which is pretty impressive. This means Apple can get these large AI models to work on device using only a part of the device's RAM. Now you might be thinking something like, the tech is impressive, but can it really make a difference in the AI world? To answer this, we should first look at the state of the development team behind Siri. Siri has always been bad, and even though there are solid plans and aspirations to change something, in 2023, the development process was literally a dumpster fire. Back in April 2023, there was a report by The Information about it, and I'm just gonna read you some bits of it. Inside Apple, Siri remains widely derided for its lack of functionality and improvements. For example, the team building Apple's mixed reality headset, including its leader Mike Rockwell, has expressed disappointment in the demonstrations the Siri team created to showcase how the voice assistant could control the headset, according to two people familiar with the matter. This headset eventually became the Vision Pro, and I assume Siri on it is the same as in my iPhone, which means it's pretty bad. The same report suggests that the main bottleneck for the development has been the top executives. In an all-hands meeting, leaders of Apple's AI and machine learning team addressed the tensions, agreeing that mistakes were bound to happen and that it was their job to educate Apple's top executives about how machine learning model improve. In one example, Gian Andrea, that's the leader of the Siri team, and the search team were finally able to reach a compromise with the Siri design team by creating a button that allowed users to report a concern or an issue with the content of a Siri answer. And even though this report doesn't say it, the idea was eventually canned by the same executives. From everything we know, it seems that the company, in its pursuit of privacy and on-device processing, has gotten into quite a predicament. The reputation of Siri is already quite low, and it would take a tremendous effort to bring it back to glory. Which leads me to a natural conclusion. Was it all just a part of the plan? Was all this lagging behind a conscious decision made by executives? But regardless of that, I firmly believe that if this on-device processing of large language models runs as good as the research paper suggests, it might just pay off. Apple devices, according to Cook, apparently already have enough power to run AI models. Every Mac that is powered by Apple Silicon is an extraordinarily capable AI machine. In fact, there is no better computer for AI on the market today, said Cook during the same annual shareholders meeting, according to Reuters. Because large language models and on-device processing are basically made for each other. And that's where we could start answering the question about the possible change in the world of AI. Your typical language model like ChatGPT isn't run on your computer or from your web browser. It's deployed on large and very powerful servers somewhere a couple thousand miles away from you. All you are doing is just sending in the request. Then the server processes all that and sends you the response. But with the on-device models, we could expect a couple important improvements. One, it is gonna be faster. Without the need to send the information to some remote server, the speed of responses will be limited only by the complexity of your request and, from what I assume, the amount of storage Apple decides to allocate for the language model. Two, features of such AI will be tightly integrated into the system, reducing the number of manipulations needed to perform tasks. Since on-device processing is fully secure, the AI could really do all those things I mentioned before and even more than that. Without the data being sent anywhere, the AI will be able to securely read your emails and respond to them, help you with messages, and do all sorts of other things. Of course, the features that leakers are predicting aren't new or all that exciting. Let's not forget that leaks always show only a part of the picture, and the real possibilities could be much, much greater. Plus, we can already see a couple ways to use AI on the phone. We recently made a video about AI features of the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and almost every single feature there perfectly aligns with Apple's vision or ideas for the use of AI in its product. From editing photos and creating slow motion videos to AI-assisted keyboard and website summaries. To me, however, this all sounds a bit too good to be true, and I think that the first batch of AI features will be a bit more modest, similar to what leakers tend to predict. And if I was to do my own predictions, I would say that the biggest focus, after all, will be on improving Siri and making it a bit more similar to that Rabbit R1 from earlier. Because the truth is, what we all want from Apple is not website summaries, but an assistant that could actually assist. We want Siri to be able to book us tables at restaurants, buy movie tickets, plan trips, and do all sorts of things. We want it to actually save time and not waste it, because right now it's only good for checking the weather and setting up timers. I want my Siri to assist me, make my life simpler. So yeah, if Apple manages to somehow scale down the AI to work straight from our devices, it would be a real breakthrough. Finally bridging the gap between us and machines, and if not bridging it, then at least narrowing it. Another thing to keep in mind is that this AI rollout is a huge deal, and Apple needs to find a clever way to do it. The right way to add generative AI to the iPhone isn't entirely straightforward though. Apple can't make iPhone into the Rabbit R1. It would simply be too big of a change. Even if Apple were to figure out the perfect AI product solution, the company culture may not be suited to maintain that. The way things are organized at Apple usually keeps teams separate. So, for example, machine learning engineers working Face ID couldn't speak with counterparts solving similar computer vision problems in its self-driving car division. But can this Apple AI really be a competitor to ChatGPT? It all depends on how you look at it. If we're talking solely about text and image generation that ChatGPT excels at, then Apple probably doesn't stand a chance. But if we look at the full picture and the sheer scope of what Apple's AI could do, then ChatGPT starts looking limited and super narrow focused. Can you count that as a victory for Apple, or will it just create more division in the AI space? No one knows. It all depends on how Apple figures this stuff out. And this is a subway to the next thing. When should we expect to see the press release? Let's pull up the Verge article and read what Cook had to say. As we look ahead, we'll continue to invest in these and other technologies that will shape the future. That includes artificial intelligence, where we continue to spend a tremendous amount of time and effort, and we're excited to share the details of our ongoing work in that space later this year. Analysts tried to press Cook for more details, but he didn't offer much. Our MO, if you will, has always been to do work and then talk about work and not to get out in front of ourselves. And so we're going to hold that to this as well, but we have got some things that we are incredibly excited about that we'll be talking about later this year. All this talk doesn't really say anything in particular, so let's use our brains. There are two possible events this year: the WWDC event in June and the fall event in September. June is all about software, so we could expect some AI features to get shown. Most likely those will be the features available on most recent devices. And in September, with the release of new iPhones, we could see some features that will be available only on those newest iPhones. Personally, I don't see any reason for Apple to not show us the whole thing in June. It just makes too much sense. It would not be the best move to gatekeep all users from the AI features by only making them available on the newest iPhones. So here's how I think it will go. In June, we will get the announcement of the majority of features that will work on most recent devices. But in September, the newest iPhones will get a couple more unique features just for them. I don't think those features will be that useful for the general audience, so I think every user will get to try improve Siri at least in one way or another. Even though Apple did put a huge shroud of secrecy over its AI endeavors, I still have high hopes for it. I really want it to be special, to shake things around, to make our lives even more exciting than they are now. And don't you worry, as soon as Apple's AI comes out, I will be the first in line to test it and tell you all about it, so be sure to sub to the channel. This video is sponsored by HubSpot. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.